Well, friends, welcome to episode 2 of Activist Collective. I'm going to jump right into the main topic of our podcast today, and that is going to be the dreaded election. I know. A lot of you guys want to go, I don't want to hear about it. If there's nothing we can do about it, I don't want to hear about it. And who's to say there isn't something we can't do about it? Who says so? Did MAGA give a fuck that the election was certified? No, they barreled right through their fucking court cases because they knew they weren't going to stop until they stole it back or they found evidence, which they never did. 70 lost court cases for fraudulent affidavits, attorneys losing their jobs, losing their bar license. Rudy Giuliani has no fucking life, career, or money left, and that's the same goes with Mike Lindell. I want to show you a video that's been compiled by smartelections.us, and it is the most compelling video. It is a compilation of these oligarchs, the rich, wealthy, and powerful, and their admissions that they were not leaving without a win. And that they had the means, the motive, and the opportunity to do it. Sit back and watch, please.
It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore.
You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes.
Thank you.
He journeyed to Pennsylvania, where he spent like a month and a half campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. And he knows those computers better than anybody. All those computers, those vote counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide.
I'm a technologist. I know a lot about computers. And I'm like, the last thing I would do is trust a computer program. Because it's just too easy to hack. It's too easy to add just one line.
We don't need the votes. I have so many votes. We don't need votes. We got more votes than anybody's ever had. Because we can take the Senate pretty easily. And I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House, right? Speaker Mike Johnson is here. He and I have a secret. We'll tell you what it is when the race is over.
I'm fucked. If we lose, I'm fucked.
Over the course of the night, you should have seen two crosses in which the Northeast would have had a significant surge in favor of Harris, and then you would have seen a switch as Florida's reporting came in and the Rust Belt, and then you would have seen another switch when the West Coast started reporting. But we didn't see that. What we saw was almost a programmatic steady percentage throughout the night.
Mike Lindell said Trump was the most confidently calm I had ever seen him. Trump was not worried at all.
Our little secret is having a big impact.
Apparently, Elon created an app and he knew who won 4 hours before the results.
I think it's done.
You think it's done?
Yeah.
It's 10:52. Obama told us we're gonna have to wait a month or something.
I don't need any votes. We got all the votes we need. I don't need votes.
How long do you think my prison sentence is going to be? Do you think? Will I see my children? I don't know.
We're going to fix it.
Wow, right? Just wow. Everything we said would happen, happened. We have a ton of people. We have some really large influencers out there saying that we should do nothing. We should ignore it. We should just leave it alone. And I can't, friends. I did not, and I stand by this, I did not want to bring upon you false hope. I did not. And I was very, very cautious in the beginning about talking about it because I did not want to bring hope to you to be crushed. We've already been through enough of that. But when I saw the data, friends, when I saw that Rockland County had a lawsuit, and when I heard the details of that lawsuit, it all clicked. The gears locked into place for me, and I could see how they had done it. I sat on a Zoom call with a woman who is in charge of smart elections, and she talked to us for 2 hours about what they know, what they've uncovered, what they've investigated. And I was sold. I was sold, friends. Let me just say this. I don't know the name of the vote counting machines, as Donald Trump calls them, but I will tell you this. When I heard how easy it is to install a program on these machines and how easy it would be to allow malware into these programs, I thought, holy fucking shit. Installing malware on a program that dumps, 45% of, every candidate that isn't a Republican would be super easy to do, especially if you're a guy who knows computers or has friends who are smarter than you and knows computers. Friends, this is not a joke. And we may not have a legal pathway for overturning a certified election because we've never been here before. We have never been here before. These people before us, these maggots. And now I question, is this what was supposed to happen? But because of COVID and the millions and millions of mail-in ballots, they couldn't do it. It didn't work. I don't know. I feel like in 2020, this was supposed to happen for them, and that's why they went so hard. That is just my idea. There's no proof of that. But it all makes sense. Everything locked into place. Seeing the statistics shook me, friends. It shook me that the Harris campaign did not want to pursue this. Like, stop it. Kamala Harris herself came out and talked about Donald Trump saying everything you saw in that video. She talked about everything he said in that video and said he's going to try. He could try. They're going to try. And then they did, and now you don't want to do anything about it? Same with these big creators who used those clips in their own videos to talk about how he's going to try. He could try to steal it. He's going to try. This guy's a crook. They used these same clips to tell you that this man is going to try to steal it. And then when he did, you're silent. When he did everything you said he was going to do, now you don't want to talk about it. Well, I want to talk about it. And I want to talk to the American people and say, if we find that irrefutable proof, if we get those hand recounts, which is a feat in itself, I'm not going to lie, getting a hand recount is a feat in itself. And I don't know why. Text Governor Josh Shapiro. Text him. He's got a video on his TikTok page right now telling you who can text me. Everybody. 717-788-8990. Text Josh Shapiro. Say, we want a hand recount in Pennsylvania of those ballots before the Trump administration comes and takes them from you. Because they're trying. They want to do their own investigations, friends. Now they want to do their own investigations. They don't want us counting those ballots because they know if we count those ballots, they are fucked. So, call the governors in all of these swing states. Call them. Tell them, get ready. We want a hand recount in every single swing state. Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. We want you to look at the data from Smart Elections and from the Election Truth Alliance. And we want you to tell me after you look at that something's not fucked up. And they know something's fucked up. Friends, they know it. They just don't want to be them. They don't want to question the sanctity of these elections. Well, I'm here to tell you, if they can as easily put programs laden with malware in our vote tabulators to get rid of 45% of a candidate's votes, we will never, ever have a fair election again. And how can we trust that? I will never trust this again. Never again. And I need to know that our elected officials are going to go after this. That's where you're going to lose the trust in your elections. Not because we ignored it, but because you did nothing when it was clear and there was evidence to prove that something terrible happened. That's when you lost the American people. That's when they stopped having faith in the elections. Okay, now let's move on to this Iran. Sorry, I'm trying to work on my pronunciation of Iran. I'm from the Midwest, so we say things like Iran and Iraq, and so I'm trying to change my vocabulary. We learn new things, we grow, we change, right? So there is news out in Iran that the damage sustained was not as bad as America is claiming it was. So Donald Trump took to Truth Social to make a post about the damage. And of course it is, well, you can't see it because most of it's underground, so you can't see it. But I want you to see, this man misspelled the word embedded. He spelled it I-M-B-E-D-D-E-D. It's embedded, E-M-B-E-D-D-E-D. But your own president can't even spell the most common word, and one of the most common words in the English language, embedded. But here's what it says, and I'll put it up for you. He says, monumental damage was done to all nuclear sites in Iran, as shown by satellite images. Obliteration is an accurate term. The white structure shown is deeply embedded into the rock, with even its roof well below ground level and completely shielded from flame. The biggest damage took place far below ground level. Bullseye. I am no war, I don't know. I don't know about war. I don't want to know about war. But what I can tell you is that this man lies a whole lot. A whole lot. So nothing he says can be taken as truth. He did have another post about Thomas Massey, who voted against the big beautiful bill. And that one says, and this is kind of a long one, Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky is not MAGA, even though he likes to say he is. Actually, MAGA doesn't want him, doesn't know him, and doesn't respect him. He is a negative force who almost always votes no matter how good something may be. He's a simple-minded grandstander who thinks it's good politics for Iran, to have the highest level nuclear weapon, while at the same time yelling death to America at every chance they get. Iran has killed and maimed thousands of Americans and even took over the American embassy in Tehran under the Carter administration. We had a spectacular military success yesterday, taking the bomb right out of their hands, and they would use it if they could. But as usual, and despite all of the praise and accolades received, this lightweight congressman is against what was so brilliantly achieved last night in Iran. Massey is weak, ineffective, and votes no on virtually everything. Put before him Rand Paul Jr., is what he just called him, Rand Paul Jr. No matter how good something may be, he's disrespectful to our great military and all they stand for, not even acknowledging their brilliance and bravery in yesterday's attack, which was the total and complete win, in all caps. Massey should drop his fake act and start putting America first, but he doesn't know how to get there. He doesn't have a clue. He'll undoubtedly vote against the great big beautiful bill, even though non-passage means a 68% tax increase for everybody. Pause. That is false. The 68% tax increase comes with this bill on the poorest Americans. If this bill does not pass, that 68% would probably go to the rich, that tax increase, because they're paying almost nothing. That's a bald-faced lie. Of course it is. He's speaking. A tax increase for everybody, and many things far worse than that. MAGA should drop this pathetic loser Tom Massey like the plague. The good news is that we'll have a wonderful American patriot running against him in the Republican primary, and I'll be out in Kentucky campaigning really hard. MAGA is not about lazy, grandstanding, non-productive politicians, of which Thomas Massey is definitely one. Thank you to our incredible military for the amazing job they did last night. It was really special. Make America great again. That was a very, very long post. Holy shit. I tell you what, this country, its government, and all the horrible shit going on, it's like a horribly written movie with a terrible plot and no ending in sight. And I just feel like if we do not collectively rise in millions and say no fucking more, and we do it day in and day out, we shut down the fucking economy. We don't go to work. We shut it the fuck down. Shut it down. We gather in the mass millions and we say we're not fucking moving until you stop with the illegal deportations, until you throw out that ugly fucking bill, until you restore the rightful fucking winner of this election. We're not going any fucking where. Fine, bomb us, blow us up, arrest us, but you'll have to arrest fucking 60 million of us, goddammit. 70 million of us, goddammit. Do you have 70 million sets of handcuffs and a place to keep us? That's what I'm talking about, friends. They can't arrest us all. And that's how January 6th worked. Those cops were afraid of those people. That's why they didn't shoot them. That's why they didn't arrest them. Because they didn't want to anger them. The cops at January 6th, and I don't blame them. I'm not saying they did anything wrong. I'm saying they were in fear for their life and they weren't going to do anything to exacerbate the already enormous amount of tension. And we need to arrive at our protest with that enormous amount of tension and anger. And we need to take our country back, friends. That's what we need to do. We need to take it back from the man who fucking stole it. So, one of the newest excuses for bombing Iran is that it was Obama's fault. I'm not kidding. It's all Obama's fault. And it's all over Truth Social. It's all over Twitter, X, whatever it's called. This is their new excuse. It's completely Obama's fault. And I'll show you some, there's memes, there's truths, there's tweets about it. This is the new line they are pushing. I believe they even said it on Fox News, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I'm going to tell you probably why they're blaming Obama. One, they hate Obama. There's no question. They hate him. They hate Biden. And they are absolutely going to use the last person who had the most influential contact with them as their reasoning for, as someone to blame so they can take the heat off of Donald Trump. But there's been history. There was a time when the United States had a diplomatic relationship with Iran sometime around 1957. Around 1979, there was an Islamic revolution to topple the current man in power who was, they called him pro-Western. Okay, and I can't pronounce his name, but it was 1979, the Islamic revolution took hold, and Tehran kidnapped 52 Americans for 444 days. That's when the diplomatic ties were cut and sanctions were imposed. 1980, the U.S. backs Iraqi invasion. That went through 1988. It goes on all the way till 2002 in the aftermath of 9/11. George Bush called Iran part of the axis of evil, and that included Iraq, Iran, and North Korea. And in 2013, Barack Obama, I'm going to put this up on the screen, Barack Obama began high-level talks with Iran, and in 2015, Tehran agreed to a nuclear deal known as the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, that would limit Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for an easing of sanctions China, Russia, France, Germany, the UK, and the European Union were also party to the deal that capped Iran's enrichment at 3.67%, which was just, just normal use, apparently. In 2018, listen to me, this is where this all fell apart. Okay, they want to blame Obama for the JCPOA, even though it was the one thing that capped their enrichment of uranium. And if they stuck to the plan, then, sanctions were lifted. And they were sticking to the plan. But in 2018, under Trump's first term, the U.S. unilaterally withdrew from the deal and slapped back the sanctions against Iran. Trump and Israel had been critical of the deal. Iran called off its commitments and began producing enriched uranium beyond the limits the deal had imposed. In 2020, during Trump's first term, the U.S. killed the Iranian general Qasem Soleimani, the head of the elite Quds force in Iran's Islamic Revolution. In 2025, by the way, there is, I believe, still a bounty from Iran on Trump for that. They loved Soleimani very much, and they are very unhappy with him still to this day over that. Now in 2025, in a letter to Iran, Trump shot off a letter saying Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei proposing new negotiations on a nuclear deal with a deadline of 60 days. But Khamenei rejected the offer, saying the U.S. isn't seeking negotiations, but rather imposing demands. Talks started unofficially in Oman, Italy, with Muscat acting as the mediator. Trump claimed his team was very close to a deal after several rounds of talks and warned Israel against strikes. Tehran, too, expressed optimism but insisted on the right to enrich uranium, a sticking point in the talks. Israel launched strikes across Iran a day before the sixth round of Iran-U.S. talks. Do you hear this? Israel stuck its dick in someone else's desert in the middle of peace talks. And now the United States bombs Iran. That's how it went down. That's how it went down, friends. Period. And they're blaming Barack Obama, for the capping of their enrichment of uranium. We should be thanking Obama, but they need someone to blame. And it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. I just read to you the history from Al Jazeera, a very neutral source on what happened. And that's the facts. Those are the facts. And they're blaming Obama, even though that fat orange slob walked away from the JCPOA and all talks. And then in the middle of negotiations this time around, Israel starts bombing them, and then we bomb them in return without provocation. So friends, please be aware of the loudmouths that are going to be preaching the word of MAGA. They're going to be trying to spread this lie that Barack Obama is to blame. Iran was going to enrich uranium whether we wanted them to or not. And in order to stop war from occurring, Barack Obama said, hey, how about this? We will lift these heavy sanctions if you promise to only enrich uranium at the level that is required for, general energy, living, power, that sort of thing. And they had been following that. And then when Donald Trump walked away from it, they said, fuck you, we're just going to start enriching uranium. And they did. They started taking the parts of uranium that are, used for bomb making, and that's what they did. This is all because of Donald Trump, and they're going to try to spin the narrative to blame Barack Obama. And you are needed. If you are a person who creates videos or who spreads news, you are needed to help share the facts of this. I'll be making a lot of videos on this, so please be ready to share those, because people who make content for the Republican Party, who are paid by them to do so, are going to be spinning a yarn about how this is all Obama's fault. So let's make sure that we are staying on top of those things, sharing the truth and the facts as needed, which will be a lot. So I'm going to bust out for today, friends. My kid is doing some morning summer school, so I should be able to pull together a few more episodes here and there this week before I head off to camp with the family next week. So remember, friends, find your community, reach out, start a group, start a chapter of 5051 if you must. But when they call for the protests, hit the streets, go en masse, stand with your fellow Americans, and stay on top of Smart Elections and the Election Truth Alliance. Push back on this fascist regime in the White House and stand your ground. That's all we can do. And do not be quiet. The moment we shut up is the moment they win, and I refuse to give up. I'm standing here with you guys always, so we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.